That's just kind of how I jumped into finance. And then even when I was there, I had to build in my own mind the version of me that was successful at that work, that was able to cold call the Fortune 500 CFOs and treasurers and finance teams because I believed, right? Because I believed that I could, and I believed that I was the person that they would want to work with. So I was able to do that and help build that business line to become a great wind in the sails of the firm. And it was really rewarding and fun, and worked with a great team of people, both military veterans and a lot of civilians as well.
Welcome to Vibecast, the podcast that dives deep into the heartbeat of workplace culture. I'm your host, Kristi Skutvik. Join me in conversations with extraordinary leaders as we unravel their experiences, both positive and negative, that have impacted workplace culture. This podcast is more than storytelling. It's about actionable insights. Are you ready to transform the vibe at your workplace? Let's go. Today's conversation is one of those that hits a little deeper. We're not just talking about what you do to be successful. We're talking about how you think. I'm joined by Andy Robinson, founder of LFG Mindset Consulting, who works with professionals and business owners to break through the patterns that keep them stuck and step into real, sustainable growth. Andy's perspective isn't theoretical. It's lived. He served in the Marine Corps from 2001 to 2006 and sustained life-changing injuries in Iraq. What followed wasn't just recovery. It was a complete rebuild. Over the last 2 decades, he's applied mindset principles in a way that's helped him earn his degree, build a successful career in finance, and create a life and family he's proud of. And now he's working to bring that to others. In this episode, we get into what actually holds people back, even high performers, and why more tactics usually aren't the answer. We talk about confidence, consistency, and the daily habits that either move you forward or quietly keep you where you're at. If you've ever felt like this, you're doing well, but not quite where you want to be, or you know there's another level in, but you can't quite access it, this conversation is going to be great. All right, Andy. Well, I just so appreciate you taking the time to be here, taking the time to share your story. We met not that long ago. We were introduced by somebody who I just appreciate and admire in what he's doing in his work. And so a friend of his is a friend of mine. So Andy, thank you for being a friend of mine and for being open to kind of sharing your story of how you got to where you're at and what you're doing today to really improve humanity, I guess I would say, but the vibe of people and their organizations and whatnot. So
Yeah.
thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Kristi. I really appreciate it. And yes, Steve's a great guy. So it was great to have a conversation a couple weeks ago. And it's just makes sense to have this follow-on conversation here.
Awesome. Awesome. So how I start every conversation is just really understanding, because I think this keeps the conversation very grounded or kind of with this understanding throughout of how do you describe or define a vibe in the workplace or just a vibe in general?
Mm. A vibe. Well, for me, like I'm a mindset coach too. So I deal with this topic all the time. But like everything's vibrations. But also like a vibe is just like the energy, the collective energy and your individual energy, your attitude, the combination of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that don't just stay in you, right? When you're having those thoughts and feelings and emotions and behaviors, they're contagious and they fill the space. And when a group of people also have different or the same, they impact each other, and it's kind of all flying around all the time. And then our observation of that's kind of like what I would say is like the vibe. If you were to describe it at that point, it would be like that collective kind of soup of vibrational energy.
Well, I had this visual when you said the things, like the feelings and the energy that's flying around. I had these this visual of I don't know, these energy waves, like, flying around that are, like, different colors. I don't know. That's but really, like, I'm a visual person, so I think I have to put, like, visual meaning to any words that are said,
My
so
favorite color is purple, and that's only because it has the highest vibrational wavelength.
Oh, does it really? Alright. Learn
But yeah,
something new
no,
every
like,
day.
that's kinda how I see it too. It's like, you're just flying around like these little wavelengths of
Yeah, and they're, like,
hitting you, and you're absorbing
inserting
them,
in you
and
or
they're
not,
also
right?
like yeah, and they're also impacting the frequency of other wavelengths and other vibrations. So, like, if I'm having a really great day and I'm really pumped up, well, a negative vibe is gonna start to kinda wear that out, but I'm also gonna be lifting that up a bit. I don't know.
Sure. So, okay. Well, I appreciate that, and you helping us understand kind of what it means to you. So, where I want to start in like our journey and our conversation is really kind of your start to like what became a defining moment in your life and has led you to where you're at today, right? Like you've had quite a journey that you shared with me, and I'd love for you to kind of reshare that, if you will, so that listeners can hear about like where you started, what that defining moment was, and what you're doing today, and kind of everything in between and stories in between. So
Yeah,
I'll let you
absolutely.
take it away.
Okay, yeah. I'll try to put the 20 plus years together in a way that makes sense.
We don't need a resume review. We just need a good story.
But it's yeah, but it's like a good story. So yeah, so I mean, really for me, my story starts 20 years ago, 20 more than that, really. But when I was in high school in New Jersey, I always knew I wanted to join the Marine Corps. I grew up in a military town, and from the age of 15, I knew I wanted to be a Marine. So I joined, I volunteered, and after I graduated high school in 2001, I went to Marine Corps boot camp and went through everything to become a Marine. And that was, you know, I was 18 at the time. And as the years went on and my experiences continued to kind of compound on each other as a Marine, that becomes like your whole identity, everything that you are, and we're a little bit, I love them, but like a little bit like zealots, like we're a little bit extreme as Marines, and as that organization, but just each individual Marine is as well. And, so that was like my whole ass identity. And in 2004, I deployed the first time to Iraq, and that was a very like interesting experience. But like I said, for a long time, I um, I knew I wanted to be a Marine, and going to war, I imagined would be part of that, right? I came back from that deployment and got married to my wife, who I'd known since I was very young, and we got married and went to figure out our life while I continued to serve in the Marine Corps. In 2006, I went on my second deployment to Iraq, and that was a little bit uh, of an more interesting, more kinetic and exciting kind of experience, that time around. But towards the end of that deployment, there's the last couple of weeks, I was on a vehicle patrol, and my truck got blown up by a roadside bomb. And in that moment, everything I believed about myself, everything that I associated with my self image, and everything I believed about the near term future, like, wasn't true anymore. And as a 23-year-old man, when that's your whole self-image, I broke my neck and my ribs and my legs, and I stayed in the hospital for a really long time, like 7 months. And while I was there, it's like, well, what am I now? Right? Not just like, well, what is my life going to look like, but like who am I? Like what am I? And it was challenging to answer that question, and I saw a lot of other service members and military veterans that had endured similar physical injuries that impacted them in a significant way. And many of them chose, when they developed like kind of the idea of what they wanted to do next or what their life would look like after this, they kind of based it on their obstacles and limitations. So they were like, okay, well, like these are the things that I can't do physically. So this is what my life is going to look like.
Mhm. Almost that, like, self-limiting talk, right? I'm not discounting the physical limitations, but yeah, like, that self-limiting talk, I mean, we'll get into mindset, I'm sure, but yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's things like, well, I can't I have to have, like, a huge support network around me and my if they were the same as me, like they had a spouse or a partner, like, we need to have a lot of support around us. Or I can't drive a car, I don't know how someone in a wheelchair drives a car, so I'm just gonna have to get rides everywhere. That's not for me anymore. Or the government is saying I'm disabled and they're gonna pay me some money, so why would I go to college or why would I have a career? Or, my wife married me a year before that happened and she signed up for one version of me. And this is a very different version. Like, is she going to want to be with me anymore? Or if they were single, like, no one's going to want to be with me. And like having children, being a parent or a father or a mother, like, that's just too hard. I can't see how that would work. And we don't necessarily blame the people for choosing those things or feeling that way. But there's a different way you can think about it, right? You can still think about all the things that would fulfill you and all the ways in which you could have the most beautiful, abundant life. And almost
How
for a
did you
moment
kind
forget
of
about those.
filter out that self-limiting talk, right? Because I think, like, this is your story and your situation, but I think, like, the overarching theme of, like, limitations runs through multiple different scenarios, right? And so how are you or what allowed you the opportunity to say, like, "Okay, great, no thank you. Okay, great, no thank you," right? Speaking of, like, energy coming in around you, like, it could feel like pressure and doom and gloom and, like, the sky is falling probably day after day. 7 months in a hospital. So I was in, the emergency room with my mom a little bit ago. She's all good, it's all good, but 6 hours in there felt like a
Mm,
lot. 7
mm,
months is overwhelming.
hmm. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So for me, I think a couple things really kind of like spurred on that my decision to choose the life that I wanted. One, the lifestyle that some of those veterans that chose that very limited lifestyle, it was not attractive to me at all. I was not interested in the highlight of my week being getting, whatever medical chauffeur company the VA used to drive me to the VA so I could go to my appointments, socialize with other veterans and, you know, bullshit. It just wasn't exciting to me. It wasn't attractive to me. So there was that. The day that I got injured in Iraq, 3 Marines died, and I didn't know them very well. I only had met them that morning. They were giving me a ride somewhere. But the fact that, we were in the same vehicle and they had that kind of outcome and I'm still here was very much a motivation of like, you have to, like, you have to go big. Like, you have to, like, go for the fulfillment. You have to go for the purpose and the impact. Like, you have to. Like, there's 3 guys that would love to have your worst day, right? So it was kind of that. I understand that's a little bit, like, maybe nuanced to my situation, but, when we can be thankful for something, then we can be optimistic for something. So that's why gratitude's so powerful. But yeah, like that limited lifestyle was not attractive to me at all. Like I didn't want anything to do with it. Didn't want anything to do with it. So I just started thinking different about what I could have. I was introduced to other veterans that did choose different as well. I met them that learned to drive, that went back to college, that had jobs and careers and children and fruitful marriages and all the stuff. So as I did that, that was like the kind of aha moment that I could develop different thoughts around what I wanted and then believe that there would be opportunities for me. And there was.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? Because it's like, you could take this scenario and say, like, the people you surround yourself with are who you become. I've been having a lot of conversations with my teenager about this, because it becomes very, like, apparent as kids get into high school, probably middle school, high school, right? Like who they're with is like who they become to some degree because there's choices that they make with those people that take them down different paths. And it sounds like you were in a very similar situation of like you had some choices where that you could make independent of um independently of these people who are around you of like I'm choosing this path and these people and I'm going to choose more of these people because they are like a positive light in life um that have done these extraordinary things despite their circumstances. And I think that that is also really important in like the workplace, right? So it's like the hospital or the workplace or wherever you're at and wherever you find yourself is like kind of taking a deep breath and a pause of like what am I actively choosing versus what is being put upon me. And that is a very big distinction and very hard to do.
Right. Well, yeah, it is challenging to do, but then also like look at some of the other things is like just like realizing that almost so much of it is a choice. Like so much of it is a choice. And even the things that quote unquote were put upon you um are still a choice. Like I joined the Marine Corps so I could go do crazy cowboy shit with a bunch of guys. Like I went to go because I wanted to experience
Was that
danger and
your why?
adventure.
I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you that at the beginning, like, what you were so called to this, right, at a very early age. Some people just do it because 'cause they're like, "Ah, I don't know what else to do," right? But I think you were very intentional about your choice, and what was driving that choice?
it wasn't for me, like, yes, like, serving our country was part of it, yes. Being part of something bigger than myself, yes. I also wanted to go, like, do badass shit. Like, I wanted to go do fun, dangerous shit. And I did, and I can't get mad, right? When I then get injured too, and, because that's part of the collateral that you put up. So for me, yeah, like, it's all a it's all a choice, and an amazing thing happens when we start to realize that and start to look at that because we have at that when we realize that and we live our lives that way, it gives us a ton of agency and power. Like, we can start choosing something else, and I always did that. Like, I always did that. I moved back and forth between San Diego and New Jersey, where grew up in New Jersey, and, we were stationed in San Diego when I got injured, so back and forth, but when I moved back to New Jersey, like, I immediately started figuring out how to that's where I learned how to drive, figured out how I was gonna go to college, figured out how I was going to I started playing wheelchair rugby, so I figured out, like, how I was going to find other, wheelchair users that also kinda did things that not everybody with a disability like that does. So just making those choices of, like, "Hey, like, we're gonna go do the things that we want
Cool
to
things.
do."
Yeah, right. Like, why not?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you recall from, like, an influence on you growing up or, a person in your life, at some point in your life before you were injured, where where you think back to them as, like, a positive influence of having the right mindset or an influence of, like, making you so determined to go do these things? Like, is there a person or a thing or, like, a situation where you just, like, actively decided, like, "This is how I'm gonna think"?
Yeah, I don't really know, like, from before the Marine Corps or before my injury. I can't really point to anything. I mean, my parents are great, and they were great, and they are great, but I don't recall them or a coach or anybody really, like, kind of having that conversation with me, so I don't really know where it comes from. I mean, as Marines, we're kind of trained and taught the power of resilience and just kind of getting through whatever we're going through. But yeah, I can't really like put my finger on. There's not like one teacher or one coach or one family member that was like, "Hey, you get something like this is how you got to be."
Yeah.
Um,
It's probably the power of the collective, quite honestly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so kind of fast forward, you have a family now, you have this incredible mindset. You went back to school, you started working, like fast forward us there in kind of that situation of what that was like and how it was and what you did in order to create the right atmosphere and environment for you and for the team members that you worked with.
yeah. So it's wild because from the time I got injured to now, every time I've grown or gone into a new opportunity or built something, it's been based again off of choice and desire. It's wild. So like I said, we were back in New Jersey, where that's where I learned how to drive. That's where we had our kids. That's where I went to college. And I started applying for work everywhere, and I'm applying everywhere, like Colorado and Texas and all of California and DC and everywhere. But nothing's really working. And I remembered thinking like, hey, back in 2006 when I got injured, everything I have in my life right now in 2013, I have because in 2006 I decided that I wanted these things, and I didn't fuss with, "Oh, how am I gonna get them?" Right? I didn't I didn't I didn't decide I didn't base my decisions of what I wanted because, based off of how I knew what to get. I just decided what I wanted. And, so here I am trying to apply for work after college, and it's just not working out, and I'm like, "This doesn't seem like the right way to do it." Given my previous experiences. So I went to my wife and I said, "Hey, I think we just need to decide where we want to move because we knew we didn't want to be in New Jersey anymore. It was too cold and gross and snowy, and there wasn't a lot going on there." Um, a little bit. I love the people there, but I'm not really wanting to be there. Um, but uh, but yeah. So just like, where do we want to live? We don't have a job yet. But where do I wanna live? And we decided we wanted to live back in San Diego, which isn't the cheapest place in the world. Um, so we're like, "Okay, well, what do we have to do then to do that?" Right now, but that's the decision. Well, we put our house up for rent in New Jersey. We get somebody signed up to rent it. We find a house to rent in, Rancho Santa Fe, California, which is, like, insanely opulent and expensive and cost way more than the house we're renting out, and I still don't have a job. And and the homeowner is like, I applied directly to the homeowner, and the homeowner called me and he was like, "Hey man, like, you seem like a really great family, but I don't know how this is working. Are you gonna be able to pay for this?" I'm like, "Yes, I'll totally be able to pay for it." Um, so we did that, and then after that, like, we're already committed to both these rentals. And then I posted on social media that I was looking for work, and my friend reached out to me and he asked me if I knew anything about capital markets, and I said, "I had no clue." I had one math class in college. No, no like specific skill set or experience or academic pedigree or relationships that would lend me to work on Wall Street. But he said there was this firm and they hire veterans, so I should check them out. So I did. And I developed the self image of me that did that and was successful at that. And I applied to a job that didn't exist. And they welcomed me to New York to interview for the job, and I got it. And the crazy part is that firm's office was 8 minutes away from the house that I had already signed up to rent. No Southern California traffic, no highways, just two little country roads, and I'm already at the office, right? So that's just kind of how I jumped into finance. And then even when I was there, I had to build in my own mind the version of me that was successful at that work, that was that was able to cold call the Fortune 500 CFOs and treasurers and finance teams because I believed, right? Because I believed that I could, and I believed that I was the person that they would want to work with. So I was able to do that and help build that business line to become a great, um, you know, wind in the sails of the firm. And it was really rewarding and fun, and worked with a great team of people, both military veterans and a lot of civilians as well. So it
How
was a
did
really
you,
great experience.
influence others through the mindset that you had, right? So you had a team of people you worked for or worked with. Um, how did you show them, like, the choices that you made and the mindset that you had, and how did you influence, others around you with that way of thinking?
Well, I feel like you can influence others, um, and encourage others for sure, but everything lives in your own mind, though. My relationship with my bosses, my relationships with my coworkers, my relationships with my clients, even my relationship with my wife lives in my mind. So sort it out there first. Hmm. Like,
I think some people listening might be like, "Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. Sort it out first."
but really, I mean, at the end of the day, that's where it is.
Mhm.
So, and that's that's what's creating. I wasn't always like this like spiritual about it or would speak this like ethereal about it. But it's also very practical, like, but we're creating our own experience. So the more you listen to the boss that's kind of always negative talking, and the more you internalize that, and the more you get upset about that, well,
Right, you're creating your own situation.
I'm not saying stay in a bad situation or how to handle it. Like those are very nuanced, examples, and I've tried to push back, and I've tried to state my case. And then there's also been times when I realize that they don't want to hear what I have to say, and that's okay too. Um, but I feel like our relationships with others lives in our own mind the most. That's where we're experiencing it. That's where we're having our emotional response to it. So tell ourselves stories about that. Be sure to tell ourselves the right stories about that. Now, that doesn't mean we all have our own version of reality and the facts, and it doesn't matter how we treat others. That's not true either. But feel like, you have to be in line with yourself first, really. And then all the other things come after that. And if you don't worry about that, then you'll align with the right people, right? And you'll align with the right attitudes.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so fast forward to now, you are a mindset coach, right? But there was a transition between your current what you were doing in the capital market space and your current coaching practice now. So talk through why you decided to do that, what that looks like, and then what you're doing today and how you go
Yeah.
about that.
Well, I feel like for me, I was successful in helping to build that business line, and it was a joy, and I met some great people and had some great experiences. I didn't necessarily super love the finance part of it, and I actually kind of um I didn't really speak the language much. Like there's a lot if you turn on Bloomberg News or anything, they're talking about a lot of terms, and if you don't think that way, it can be like confusing, not interesting, or just you don't get it. Like so my boss would literally start talking to me about 10-year yield curves, and I'm like, and I lost you, and I lost you. But I have some great relationships with the guy at MGM and Amazon and Ford and Coca-Cola, and they're happy to talk to me. And I can put their you know people that speak this language with our people that speak this language, and you guys can talk about it, and we'll make money. And that's great. We'll help them. Um, but I started being less fulfilled in that kind of role, and it was okay. Just something for a season. And I started looking around for what else am I going to do? What am I going to do next? And I found mindset coaching, and I was amazed by it because I was like, I never even heard of this before. I had lived it. I didn't know it. At its most basic thing, I knew that I believed that gratitude is the most important thing, and believing I saw massive value in just the absolute belief that there would be opportunities for me. Like, I never believed in a second that there wouldn't be amazing opportunities for me. I just need to look for them and be open to them and expect them, right? Um, so that was like my extent of mindset ideas and kind of material and subject matter knowledge. Um, but I got around this mindset material and I was like, this is really cool. And there's coaches for this. And I also realized how much people are not aware of what's going on, what they're creating. Like I said, like we are like one with the creator when it comes to creating our own experience. Like we're absolutely creating our own universe for the 80 years or however many years we're on this earth in this state of consciousness. And that happens through our mind. And people are moving about completely unaware that the fact that they say that sales are hard, that this market is really hard, that real estate is hard, that insurance sales is really hard, that people always flake, that all these things. And then they get that, and then they get that experience. And there's other people that just believe differently, right? And we can train ourselves to think differently. So when I found that this was a thing, that there were mindset coaches and that people needed help with that, I was like, well, that's what I want to do. So that's what I started to do and started to build that business and resigned from my finance job. And now I do this. I help people, what I call step into the next version of themselves through
Mhm.
working on their mindset.
So how do you like if somebody was listening and they were like, "That sounds really great, like, maybe I wanna, like, dabble." I'm not ready for necessarily a coach, but I wanna, like, dabble in, like, what that looks like. What would somebody start doing just to see if, like, they are interested in that? Right? Like, in changing their mindset, right? Like, what is there a few questions somebody can ask themselves? Is there like, how would somebody because so many people might be like, that's not for me, or I know I'm set. So I know a few people in my own personal life that are like, "No, I just am who I am." That's like, I'm just set on that, right?
Yeah. Wouldn't it here's a crazy thing. Think of a world where no one can ever change. Isn't that like
Scary,
scary? It sounds horrible.
sad, yeah.
Okay. So what would you change if you or think about your own life
Mhm.
as if you could never change anything about it, right? And that would be, so for those people that are like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't need to change anything. It's like, okay, no, really, you don't want to change anything for the rest of your life. Like, you don't want your relationships to improve. You don't want to have more fulfilling relationships. You want to do the same job, making the same exact money. The only thing going different is like you're getting older. That's it, right? And you can look back at almost everything in your life again and realize that it might not have been a choice as in like you like elected to choose it, but it's there because of the self-image that you once held of yourself. You saw yourself as someone who did this thing that then got you this opportunity. Or you saw yourself as someone who didn't go in that room, so you didn't get that opportunity, right? So everything in your life right now is a reflection of the self-image of your past, your emotional kind of belief about yourself, your emotions, your perspective of the world, everything. Now, if you're super, super, super happy and you couldn't imagine changing anything, then yeah, you don't need to do mindset and that's fine. But I'm always an advancing person, you know? Like I always want to be growing into something new and having new experience and not always like completely reshaping my life, but I want to be growing because we've also seen people that have decided to stop growing and it's not you don't just sit there, you kind of start to disintegrate. So, I would say first, like, just look at your life and realize that you're manifesting all of it. And what does that say about that? So if you keep on like having crappy relationships, So for the people that are on the dating scene and they keep on having crappy relationships, like, what are you saying about it?
Yeah, and this goes too for like leaders of organizations, right? Whether it be a small team, a big team, a founder led, what have you, is like the stories that you're telling yourself will become I read this book called Leadership and Self-Deception, and it was around this idea of like the story you tell yourself, you will look for opportunities to justify that story, right? And so when you look at a situation, you're either going to choose to say, I could never drive or heck yeah, I can drive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah. These systems are then meant to find what we train them to look for. So when we think that it's so hard to find people that want to work hard, that are smart, that aren't just looking to like make money and kind of coast, you're going to find that a lot. But when you truly believe, be like, oh my God, I'm so happy and grateful that I work with a team that like really that everybody has their own like perspectives and their own skill sets and their own desires and goals, but it also fits in so well with the collective and believe that, right? And believe that that's there for you and that's there for the organization and that's there for each individual person that's a part of the team.
do you have somebody that you're either actively coaching or coached in the past or want to be coaching, right? Or just a story around somebody who you turned their mindset around and like the impact that that had on their team or their family or anything like that. And you don't have to tell us their name or where they live or any of that, but like I would love to hear kind of like how this worked in real life.
Right. Absolutely. So I am pretty active in like a small business community here where I live in Georgia. And someone in my network has like a mental health practice that she owns. And we started meeting and getting to know each other. And she's like, Andy, it's just so hard. I wanna find like a clinical director, but it's so hard to find someone that is aligned and has the right skill set and, you know, is gonna fit in with the team this size. I said, stop, don't say that anymore. and but I taught her why, right? I taught her why. And I taught her why it's like because when you say that, you go out through the world and you experience that, right? Or even as you're looking for it and you say, I really need this clinical director. I need it. I need it. I need to go find this person. Your subconscious is listening and it will literally, the most literal, in the most literal way, it will show you, it will obey you. So as you move through the world, you don't find the clinical director that you need. You find the need for the clinical director that you need because your subconscious said, "Got it. You need a clinical director. I'm going to show you in all the ways you need it. This admin system is going to go down. This intern is going to need more help than when you're not available. You're not going to be able to go on vacation because you need like I'm going to show you 6 to 10 times a day why you need this thing that you don't have, and you haven't told me to help you find it. You haven't told me that you're happy that you found it. All you've told me is you need it, and it's really hard to find. So I'm gonna give you that." So we changed the way she thought about it, and it was funny because she's not a client, she's just a friend, and, but she changed and then we recently got back together for, like, another kind of, grab coffee again, and we were talking about it. I'm like, "So how's your business?" She's like, "Oh, this and that, and this is something." I'm like, "Oh my god, I have, like, an amazing clinical director." I'm like, "Hmm, hmm, hmm." Was she hard to find? No. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting how that
So what were the word choices or like what how did you get her
that's
to
what
like
it is. It's the word choices.
mm,
You know what I mean?
mhm.
Working with, what are those? I mean, I work by myself. I'm a solopreneur, so I don't like employ anyone.
Uh-huh.
So who are the young kids that are getting employed now? Gen Z, are they? So it's like
I think so.
maybe.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're gonna say that all the time, or if you're gonna say all the time, like, "Oh my god, like, working with these boomers, they just need to retire because I'm so tired of figuring out how to, like, I don't wanna tell them how to turn something into a PDF again. I can't." And, but you say that, but then you're it's all that energy is going out, and it's also what you're observing and you're finding.
Right. You're, like, looking for the opportunity to self-justify the story you've created in your head. It's, like, wild. So that's why mindset is so important, right? Because it's, like, the story you've told yourself, the position you've put yourself in order to look for the opportunity to justify what you're thinking. It's almost like, "But what comes first, the chicken or the egg?"
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what created this mindset in the first place, and how do I recognize that it's probably not the right one?
Yeah, over time, our mindset is developed through, from when we're really young, and then
Mhm.
over conditioning over time, and then emotional experiences that then really super reaffirm that. It's like, see what happens? Like when you trust someone, they let you down. They take money from you. See what happens when you get into a business partnership? Like you get screwed every time.
Yeah.
And then we have that experience. But if we want a different experience, we need to think differently. It starts with thought. Starts with thought and just reprogramming it, rewriting the program.
Okay, so how does somebody reprogram it? Like at its basic level, right? They don't have an Andy in their life. How do they but they have a recognition that like I probably need some reprogramming or like their season of life has changed, right? Like I'll even say for myself, my season of life has changed because I have a teenage daughter who drives. And so this season that I was once in is now a new season and it looks different, it feels different, it acts different. And so there is a level of reprogramming, like, throughout your entire life, right? Technology doesn't stay the same, neither does, like, your brain wiring. So, what is, like, I have a recognition I need to change something. I just don't know what to do next.
I think really a powerful thing to do is to start building a vision of the life that you want.
Mm,
Start
mhm,
building the vision of the relationship that you want with the fact that your daughter's driving,
mhm.
of the joy that it brings, of the that you can build memories in the future, right? And you can have that experience, you can have that emotional experience, your body can have that physiological experience even without having the physical experience yet, right? Not having the tangible experience yet. But figure out what it is that you want to have. What would be the perfect? Because there's a version of you, if we believe in like the ever present now with like a bazillion different possibilities, there's a version of you that's living that way now. So what do you want to experience? Like again, what do you want the relationship with your partner, your kids, different aspects of those relationships, your relationship with yourself, with your coworkers, with your work, with your leaders, your report, your communities, your everything, and just play with it. People get so busy and they get so constantly
Busy is
in
a
it.
four-letter word I wish people would just remove from their vocabulary because you live up to that expectation. "How are you?" "I'm so busy." It's like,
Why?
cool. Yeah, why? Exactly. Like, I think you want to be, right? Like, I know for me, I'll speak from experience, like, once I started removing that, like, the busy, overwhelming feeling kind of, like, went away.
Right. Because there's people that are just as successful. There's people that are more successful that aren't as busy. I mean, you live in Southern California. You see people surfing and bicycling at all hours of the day. All hours of the day. That's like the craziest thing about Southern California is like you're like, what are all these people doing? What do you mean you're gonna go surf at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday? Um, but 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 it happens. But it's like there's a version of you that is that successful if you can just wrap your head around it. There always is. There always is. Not no, I'm not saying there's like people that aren't in situations that don't have to work hard, or maybe they're in like hourly compensated type work, and that's a real thing. But even then, like if you start to see yourself as someone who doesn't trade time for money anymore, who finds the right opportunity, who has the right opportunity, what would that feel like emotionally? And like see yourself in that and then go to that a lot. Um, but yeah, this mindset stuff's pretty interesting, and it's very powerful. And as we really like rewire it, it changes the vibe for our whole life and experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Which honestly, I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and there isn't this like separation of work and life anymore, right? It's like an integration. I don't see it as, I think balance is like an expectation people put on themselves that they just are chronically disappointed about, because I don't see life as a balance. I see life as an managing the tension and the integration during different seasons of life. That's my interpretation of it. Um, but uh, it really is like the energy that flows through you and the way you're thinking and feeling, like, impacts everything around you and every part of your life. As much as you wanna say it doesn't, I would challenge you to ask your kids, they're the best mirror for you.
So it's the best example. And then they do the same, and they do the same thing the other way. It works both directions. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just, like, start with asking your kids, like, "How do you see me? What is my energy like? What do you think about me?" Like, what's an adjective that would describe, this is a good one. What's an adjective that you use to describe me? And that will give you a good indication of, like, where your mindset's at,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, as we, like, develop that, and also, like, our attitudes are a combination of our thoughts and our emotions and our actions, and there's times when we can't really tell, like, we're not really conscious of the thought or the emotion, but maybe we're conscious of the action, the way we're sitting, our posture, right? My son plays sports, and kinda, like, tell him about that. It's like, if you're noticing that maybe you're not even noticing, but you're noticing that one of your teammates is, standing a certain way, and you're like, "Man, that's not the way that a confident version of you that's ready to for this play to," it's a total thing. It's a total thing. So it's yeah, there's all these little, like, tools and awarenesses, and, like, we're always seeking better and higher states of awareness and consciousness. Like, the more that we know, then the more we can affect and the more we can choose.
Mhm, mhm. So is there any one thing, I mean, as you've shared a lot of, like, nuggets of wisdom and information, but if somebody is listening and they're like, "Okay, I wanna go improve the vibe of, like, myself or my team or my business or my family or my kids," or whatever, right? Like, is there, like, a physical, like, maybe a physical emotion and an emotional thing that they could go do now that doesn't require them to invest a bunch of money or get approval by a big committee or anything like that? Like, is there something very simple that you think could start to turn the dial in the right direction?
I would say just get a blank notebook and start writing about what you want your life to look like.
Mm, mhm.
Don't base it off of anything else other than desire. Don't base it off of, "Oh, well, I make this much money now, so this is a reasonable, like, year over year, quarter over quarter." Like, who cares? Who cares if every opportunity was given to you and every time the question was, "Are you gonna get what you want? Yes or no?" And the answer was yes every time. What would your life look like? And not just like, "Oh, I have this cool car," and not even just like, "Oh, I'm just like, I'm just in Fiji." Like, yeah, you can do that for like a week, but you're probably gonna go crazy if you do it for more than that. But like your dream repeatable day, and start getting very detailed about that. And that's a journal and a pen. And you're literally bringing things from the spiritual non-physical world into the physical world. And the fact that you can dream about it and desire it is is evidence enough that you can have it.
So I was in a book club with a friend, and she was telling me kind of variations of book clubs she's been in, right? And she was like, one of these book clubs, reminded what you just said reminded me of it. She was in one of these book clubs and she's like, we kind of got sick of reading books. So we just decided to like pick a topic, like it rotated each person in it and like pick whatever topic we wanted and just like do some research on it. And then the next book club, we'd like come back and share like the topic, or we like did a ceramics class, or we just like did different things. Right. And so she decided she was going to share, like give everyone a journal and share the power of journaling. And so she was sharing some things, and I'm gonna totally butcher these statistics, but she was saying that, like, there were um, like, compelling statistics that, like, even, like, hip replacement patients that journaled had, like, they accelerated their time to, like, walk and run again by, like, 200%. Again, don't take my percentages as fact, but, like, some staggering statistics about the power of journaling on physical capabilities. I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, hip replacement patients." Like, it was just like, you couldn't even argue with it because 'cause you're just like, "This is incredible," right? So I think, yeah, if anybody's gonna walk away with anything, like, open your Amazon app because I guarantee the majority of people listening to this have an Amazon app, and you can get a journal and a pen for probably under $10, so just go do it. Or you can find one, guarantee, in your house that maybe your kids have written on a few pages, and you tear out those pages and you just go to town, so, doesn't even require you to buy anything. So, that is, great advice and something that I probably should start practicing a little bit more
Yeah,
often than I do.
it's definitely
So,
the more we can do that, the more time we can spend with our future selves and separate from all of the reaffirming experiences of our current environment. So the emails from your clients, the emails from your team, the social media, the news, the number in your bank account, the car that you drive, the responsibilities that you currently have. The more you can get away from that and for a time and get into the feeling and the experience of just getting back from that amazing work trip to, I don't know, Chicago, and you flew first class and you had this amazing conversation because you're talking about your business that you're growing and, whatever, all of it, and all the details. Write it like a story, but talk about it as if it's happening in the present tense because your subconscious only deals in the present tense. But yeah, do those things.
amazing. Well, thank you, Andy, for sharing your wisdom and just like the simplicity of the things that you can do in order to change your mindset and set yourself up in the right direction to do amazing things in this world. So appreciate you and your mindset also and the things that you've been able to accomplish. So thank you for being here and sharing and all the things that are and are to come.
Thanks so much, Christy. I appreciate you, and it was a pleasure to have this conversation.
It's wild how much your mind has power over all things. This was such a great conversation with Andy and a good reminder that success isn't something you chase, it's something you create. What I keep thinking about is this idea that we're shaping our experiences every single day through our thoughts, our energy, and the way we choose to show up. Andy talked about vibrational energy, visualization, journaling, but at the core of all of it, it's really about intention. Being aware of what you're thinking, choosing what you want to believe, and then aligning your actions with that. Because as he said, we are creating our own experience. So listen up. You don't need a complete overhaul to change your life. You need small, consistent shifts in how you think and how you move through your day. I think the question to sit with after this one is, what am I reinforcing without even realizing it? And is it actually getting me where I want to go? If this sat with you and resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it. These are the conversations that shift how we lead, how we live, and the energy we bring into every room we walk into. So stay curious, stay courageous, and keep vibing, my friends. If this episode inspired you and you want to see how you can take the next step to creating a better vibe within your organization, I'd love for you to download our complimentary 75 Vibes worksheet. This is a simple tool to create a habit and mindset around creating great vibes in work and life. The best part, it's simple and it works.